Long assumed to be deadline buyers after getting swept at home by the Mets here, I'm going to make the case why the Giants should maybe be sellers, but also why it's just not going to happen.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and RotoGraphs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for almost 6.5 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Super stoked that we got to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Big milestone. Thank you to each and every one of you who has subscribed. And coming up on today's show, we are going to get into the argument that the Giants should potentially be deadline sellers after they get swept at home by the Mets. Two of these games they really could have won. At least one of the games they should have won, I would say, and they lose them all. And so where does that leave them? Well, it leaves them at 54 and 52. If they simply had one more loss, they would be a 500 team. So just barely above 500. It seems that every year the Giants go through this. So we'll get into all of that, but also why I just don't think they're going to sell. I don't think there's almost any chance, but I'm going to make the case that they should. Kind of devil's advocate type point, but some of you have been pointing out on Twitter to me that they should, and I think you have a valid argument. And also, how about Carson Whisenhunt? He's going to make his MLB debut finally tonight, starting against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, also just a quick housekeeping announcement. If you haven't heard, this is my last week at Locked On. If you want to know what I'm up to, check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, BenKaspick. Please follow me there. Anyway, jumping into the content of this show, the Giants have done this to us year in and year out, and it's super frustrating in that they have a significant portion of the first half or the pre-deadline part of the season where they look like buyers, and then we've definitely seen this before, that coming out of the All-Star break, they've played poorly and put themselves in this awkward position where they're on the outskirts of the race and they just don't look like clear buyers. Like, it doesn't look like obvious that they should be trading away prospects in order to push all in for the 2025 season. And it's just extremely frustrating. Like, as a fan, they're 2-9 coming out of the All-Star break. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're now 3 games out of a wild card spot. The good news is there's some separation. Like, only the Reds are kind of ahead of them between the last wild card team, which is the Padres, and the Giants, who are Giants are 3 back, Reds are 1 back, and the Padres are 3.5 back of the second wild card spot. So it basically looks like you're essentially playing for the third wild card spot, which is just another frustrating thing about this team. Is like, they're not playing for the division. Well, they could be, but they're 7 back. Dodgers have a plus 66 run differential. Giants are at plus 9. The Giants were plus 40 something not long ago, and really it's not Rafi Devers' fault, but they showed it on the broadcast last night that, like, before the trade for Devers and then after, their run differential is it was like plus 40 something, and after it's minus 30 something, and their record shows that. I mean, when you are minus 30 something, you're losing a lot of games. And so they were at one point like 12 or 14 games over 500. Now they're just 2 games over 500. And the Pirates are coming into town. Pirates are in last place, although they're playing better baseball than the Giants right now. 44-62, but 6-4 in their last 10, 2-game winning streak. They've played well at home, 31-25. That may be even better than the Giants at this point. Yeah, I mean, the Giants are only 28-23 at home. They were dominating at home, and now they've just been losing at home a lot recently. They are 28-28 against teams at or above 500, so it really just means they haven't been able to take advantage of teams like the Pirates. If you can hold your own like that, Dodgers are under 500 against teams at or above 500. So the Giants' record against 500 or better teams is actually, one of the best around, but they just haven't been able to beat up on lesser opponents like the Pirates. So this is obviously a huge series. There's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday against the Pirates, and then the trade deadline is on Thursday. So this is it. And so like a sweep, and you could be 57-52, and that would make it much clearer that you're in a position to buy. If you get swept, you're below 500 and you just lost 6 in a row to the Mets and Pirates. So a lot can change in the span of not that long, but at the same time, it's just they're in this position again, and they've been in this position multiple times. And under Farhan Zaidi, which we have the last 6 deadlines or so, were Farhan Zaidi running the show. And the only year they really clearly went out and bought was when they got Chris Bryant in 2021. Other than that, it's been like a mixed bag of either nothing or a little bit of buying and a little bit of selling, or just kind of a little bit of selling. Nothing significant. So they already made the significant acquisition of Rafi Devers, but I don't know. You just look at their team right now, and there's definitely room for improvement. Like Mike Yastrzemski, free agent at the end of the year, he's been hitting 5th a lot. It just seems a little like he's miscast, and his Giants tenure is probably coming to an end at the end of this year. You could definitely afford to upgrade there. Their bench is weak with Brett Wisely and Luis Matos not really being what was hoped of him. And then you look at their rotation, and right now, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Justin Verlander, and now Carson Whisenhunt, but Landon Roop on the IL with elbow inflammation. Hayden Birdsong sent down because he couldn't throw a strike, and like 3 or 4 outings in a row, he just had these periods where he just could not throw strikes. And so clear need in the rotation, and definitely some clear needs in the lineup and on the bench. Hope, you could move, you don't have to trade Yaz, but moving him to like the bench would lengthen out your bench, and whoever you replace him with would make your lineup better. So you could do 2 things at once there. But when it comes to who do the Giants have to trade, they've got some guys who would be some of the better trade assets on the market. And that's really why it could make sense to sell. And the guys I'm talking about include Robbie Ray, potentially Wilmer Flores. I think there would be some value there. Camilo Doval. Like, you've got some guys who are not under team control for that much longer and would bring back a lot. Like Robbie Ray would potentially bring back a lot, especially if you were willing to pay down some of the contracts. So we'll get into some more of the details, but also why I don't think it's going to happen despite everything I'm saying. So all of that in just a minute. And before we get into it, Today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. For me, I used to have all my accounts scattered all over the place, different credit cards, different banks, different investments, and I had no clue what was going on, frankly. And having it all consolidated was life-changing. So take control of your finances like I did with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, here we go. We're going to get into what the Giants would have to trade and how they could become one of the more interesting teams if they were to trade, and like why it's possibly the right move to do this, but why I don't think it's going to happen. Thanks again for making Locked on Giants your first listen every day. Every day or tomorrow, we'll be breaking down the MLB debut of Carson Whisenhunt, something I've been waiting for a long time. I know a lot of you have been waiting for a long time, against against a top trade candidate, right-handed pitcher Mitch Keller of the Pirates. So in my opinion, hopefully he gets traded today so he's not able to make this start, because he's actually pretty good, and I want the Giants to win. I don't want them to be in a position where they look like sellers, but Keller has a 3.53 ERA, 3.81 expected ERA, 3.42 fielding independent pitching. Hey, maybe the Giants should trade for Mitch Keller and have him make the start, or start, they've got openings in their rotation. So Mitch Keller, possibly a candidate, although he's under team control through 2028. So the Pirates will be asking a lot, because you're getting this year 26, 27, and 28 for an average of $15.4 million per year. So that's pretty good for a guy pitching the way that Keller is pitching. But as it is now, the Giants are facing him tonight, but trades are going down a little bit early relative to some recent years. Maybe the Giants, with their Devers move, set that up, but we've already seen movement, some trades every day, and it's only going to intensify as Thursday's deadline nears. So anyway, like I said, just to be specific, Robbie Ray has the rest of this year and then next year for $25 million under team control. And you could pay some of that down. Like if you were willing to pay down some of the money, you could get quite a return for Robbie Ray. Like he would be one of the better trade assets on the market if the Giants made him available. And so given that they're perpetually in this position of being okay, but not really good, you could make an argument to me for sure that the Giants should make a move here and trade a guy like Robbie Ray for some kind of impact type prospect. And they need that. Their farm system has not churned out impact players. And I mean, I look around, Patrick Bailey does a great job defensively, but he has not been able to hit. His line drive, the Giants were cursed in that ninth inning in the second game of the series. They hit a rocket out to start the inning, a Jung-Hoo Lee rocket off the right center field wall, the top of it that would have been a home run everywhere else but Oracle Park. At some point this week, in my closing week here, I do want to get into how I truly feel that the dimensions at Oracle Park need to change. And then with Lee, I think still on second, Bailey hit a rocket that took a jumping, lunging catch by Pete Alonso. It was like 107 off the bat, and it was caught, and that would have tied the game. So it was like a cursed ninth inning there for the Giants. But anyway, the point was Bailey, homegrown, does a good job, great job defensively, but has not been much of a hitter at all. And besides that, I mean, Elliot Ramos has been a success story, but his defense has been a problem. So you're still kind of waiting on homegrown impact talent. Logan Webb definitely fits the bill and counts. And some bullpen guys like Randy Rodriguez and Tyler Rogers and Ryan Walker and Camilo Doval, they've had some success with their bullpen guys. Landon Roop as a starter. So, and we'll see with Carson Whisenhunt, who's going to debut tonight. But so Robbie Ray is a trade candidate. Like if the Giants were to be open to selling, it would basically tank their season. But are they going to make the playoffs? Like FanGraphs has their playoff odds at 23%. This has frustratingly fluctuated between like, oh, now it's 20%. And then they go on a little streak and it's like, oh, now it's 50% or 66%. But then they keep falling back. 2-9 since the break will do that to you. ATC, another projection system, has the Giants at 27.6% playoff odds. And the Bat X has the Giants at 28.3% playoff odds. So there's kind of, they're all not that dissimilar. They are all similar, 24 to 28%. So, like, I guess if you make a significant addition or two, you could bump that up probably to, 30 to something, 40%. But is that really worth sacrificing more young talent like they did with the Devers trade, Kyle Harrison and James Tibbs the third? So I'm not sure. And so the most likely case may be like some smaller additions just to kind of shore things up, like a starting pitching arm that you can just rely on to be decent and solid so you can get through the season. Maybe a right fielder who can at least like platoon with Mike Yastrzemski. Randall Grichuk was a candidate, but he was already traded to the Royals. There are other guys, but like these are marginal moves, and that's probably the most likely. However, the caveat is we don't know about Buster Posey. All we know is that he's been pretty aggressive with bringing in big names. Like he got the Matt Chapman deal across the finish line. He went out and signed a big name who's been somewhat disappointing, obviously been hot lately overall, Willy Adames. And then, of course, the blockbuster Rafael Devers trade, which will almost certainly be the biggest trade of the whole season by any team. But Devers has yet to get it going like fully. And another guy where I feel like you got to change the dimensions of the ballpark to just help him out. I get that you have to pitch here too, but it's so frustrating to see your own players demoralized by their home ballpark on a consistent basis. Barry Bonds had no issue, but since then, everybody has had an issue with this ballpark. And so it's beautiful. I don't know how you do it and not mess up the aesthetics of the ballpark. I know some of you are talking about putting that thing up like they did in the COVID seasons where they blocked the wind flow through the viewing section in the arcade. I don't know the data on that, like if that's truly what led to better offense, because I recall looking it up and like the Giants hit better, but opponents didn't hit better. And so it's possible the Giants just played better during that stretch. I don't know, but the Giants should be able to figure it out. And if that's what it takes, block it off. I'm just tired of this ballpark. I love it from a beauty standpoint. I think those bullpens added or took away from some of the beauty. I feel like that center field wall doesn't look great. It's too tall, but they had to do it that way. I think, yeah, there are issues with tinkering with your ballpark's dimensions, but I don't know, bring in the same company that designed it and just figure it out. That's my opinion. So that's a little bit of a tangent. But essentially, I just don't see the Giants having traded for Devers and being in contention. It's not like they're completely out of it at all. They're just, what did I say, 3 games out of a wild card spot. They were just 1 game out of a wild card spot just the other day. And so, I don't know, this Pittsburgh series is huge. The Padres are playing the Mets, and so hopefully the Mets now can keep it going. They've won 7 straight, and the Giants really should have won at least a game in that series, but they didn't. They lost all 3. But the Padres have to play the Mets, and so hopefully the Mets go, sweep the Padres or something, and the Giants sweep the Pirates, and then that would potentially put the Giants in a tie for a playoff spot. So much can change, or Giants could get swept, Mets could get swept, and the Giants could be 6 back of a playoff spot. So a lot can change, and it could dictate what you do. And so it's to be determined, and every game is enormous. And tonight's game is, like I said, trade candidate Mitch Keller against Carson Whisenhunt, Giants' top pitching prospect, getting called up today. I have not received word on the official roster move, which will require a 40-man move and a major league roster move. So we'll speculate about what that could be and discuss what to expect from Whisenhunt, who's going to be on the mound tonight. That's exciting. So we'll get into that in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by Game Day Hue, and so is this hat that I'm wearing. For Giants fans like me, this one just hits the mark. Game Day Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. The hat pairs perfectly with my usual gear. It doesn't replace my team's logo stuff. It just adds to the lineup. And I have a lot of hats, and I love the one I'm wearing now. It's the kind of hat that reps your team without screaming it. Subtle, but still says everything. And it's not just hats. Check out their split shade gloves I'm showing right now on YouTube. If you can't see here, you can hear it on audio. It's a beautiful golf glove made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. All right, here we go. The major league debut of Carson Whisenhunt is finally here. We've been talking about Mr. Whisenhunt for quite a while. Giants definitely have a need, and they went with a bullpen game yesterday, and now they didn't have a starter for today. And so enter Carson Whisenhunt, left-handed pitcher, drafted in the second round of 2022, and is the Giants' top pitching prospect, arguably their number 2 prospect behind only Bryce Eldridge. So when I glance at the numbers for Whisenhunt, last year in AAA, he made 25 starts there. He made only 2 starts in A-ball. I don't know if that was I forget why that happened, but he was in AAA basically all year last year. And what I noticed right off the bat is his ERA was 5.42. The peripherals, though, were better. He had a 4.66 fielding independent pitching last year and a 4.67 fielding independent pitching this year. So those are almost identical. Yet his ERA last year was 5.42 in AAA in 25 starts, about 100 innings. And this year it's about 100 innings as well. And the ERA is down a full run at 4.42, except he's doing it in a really different way. His walk rate is down significantly from last year to this year, 11.1% last year, 6.8% this year. Strikeout rate, though, this is where I get not alarmed, but I'm like, what the heck is going on? 28.4% last year in AAA, 28.4%. This year, 21%. And so why? Why has there been a significant drop-off in his strikeout rate? I don't know. I don't know if it's a velocity thing. I don't have the data on that. I think that data is available somewhere. I may be able to pull that up. Yeah, actually I can. It's a sinker. He doesn't really throw a four-seamer, I guess. Last year it was 93.2 on average, and this year it's 92.1. So he's down 1 mile an hour on his fastball. I don't know if he added more movement. His slider velocity is up. He's also throwing it way more. His changeup velocity is like identical, and his cutter velocity is down 1 mile an hour. So I don't know. I don't know why he's not striking as many people out. But the Fangraphs Too Long Don't Read prospect report from this year was simple. Whisenhunt's changeup is very special. They give it an 80 current and future value. And this is not necessarily updated super recently, but it's the 2025 updated report. And so I'm guessing it was updated pretty recently. And they rank him as baseball's 104th best prospect. So that's not obviously super high, but who knows? You never know with young players, like just what they're going to do. And I'm really excited to see this changeup that we've heard so much about. I've seen it on kind of grainy, low quality video, but seeing it at, with major league quality cameras and all that, I'm super pumped to see Carson Whisenhunt make his debut. And hopefully it's a good one and that he can stick in the rotation. We won't judge too much based on one start, but there's certainly things we can glean from it. And we'll be breaking it down tomorrow. So, like I said, the Giants will need to make a 40-man roster move as well as a 26-man roster move, like the Major League roster. And so the simplest way to ever do so is to designate someone for assignment who's on the Major League roster. I don't really see how they do that. I suppose it could be someone in the bullpen, but when I look, there's not really an obvious candidate at all. Like, I think more likely you could see someone like Tristan Beck optioned. That may be the way that they go, because Beck was already optioned and was only called up because there was a recent injury. I'm losing track of when exactly. Was it for Landon Roop? I think it was. And Beck pitched yesterday through just 12 pitches, and he threw 30 pitches on Friday. So Spencer Bivens pitched 58 pitches yesterday, but he's been up all year, whereas they've sent Beck up and down. Oh, did they? It looks like they already made the roster move with Sean Jelly option to the minors. How did I miss that? I'm not sure. The Giants usually send out a roster move notification. Maybe it just happened, but I was looking and I was like, wait, where's Sean Jelly? Because that could also make sense. It looks like Sean Jelly was optioned, and it says Carson Whisenhunt will have contracts selected from the minors. So they will have to make a 40-man move because optioning someone does not clear a 40-man space. So they could put someone on the 60-day injured list. That opens up a 40-man spot. It could be Christian Koss. It could be Gerard Encarnacion, I'm not exactly sure where they are in their rehabs. And looking at other 40-man players who could be DFA'd, you could DFA Daniel Johnson, potentially continuing to look through for obvious candidates. I don't know. That'll be my guess is Daniel Johnson, because otherwise I don't, or a 60-day IL move for someone who's currently hurt that they expect to be out a long time. Like Gerard Encarnacion went on the IL on the 16th of June. And so if you 60-day IL him, then he would just be eligible to come back in mid-August, which may align with when he'd be ready to come back anyway. So maybe that's the move. I don't know. But those are my two guesses. Encarnacion to the 60-day IL, or wait, I just want to make sure he's not already. Yeah, he's on the 10-day IL. So either that, or my guess would be a Daniel Johnson DFA. So anyway, that's my prediction. Really excited to see Whisenhunt. Really excited to talk to you about it tomorrow. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'm Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter/X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. Please check me out there. Like I said, I'm very sad to be leaving Locked On Giants at the end of this week. So we'll have you covered through the trade deadline. And if you want to know what I'm up to, please follow me on Twitter. I'm also going to reactivate on Blue Sky for those of you who left Twitter to let you know what I'm up to. So anyway, thanks again so much for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.